working? Hi, my name is Bailey Garfield. I'm 16 years old and a junior at South Salem High School. I am not a native Oregonian. Until winter of 2002, I had lived my entire life in the Washington, D.C. area. I had not wanted to move away. I liked my school and my friends. I didn't want to leave the only home I knew. I kept asking why we were moving, and the answers I got never seemed to make sense. I only found out 5 years ago that there was a little more to our story. I moved here because in September of my first grade, during the first week of school, something extraordinary happened. It was a sunny, beautiful day, just like a regular school day. I don't remember what my class was working on that morning, but what I do remember is seeing my classmates one by one being sent home from the day. I was a sheltered 6-year-old from an intact family with parents who loved me. I didn't think of the world as a scary or dangerous place. By the end of the day, I was the only one left in the classroom, but I still didn't know to be afraid. I loved my teacher, and she was very calm. She protected me from fear and knowledge of what was happening outside. I don't really remember how I found out that on that day, September 11th, something terrible had happened. Although many people only connect September 11th with the Twin Towers, there were 2 more planes hijacked that day, and those planes terrorized my hometown. The first plane hit the Pentagon, which was about 4 miles from my school. We could see the smoke from our house. It's hard to understand how confusing and chaotic that day was for us. Now, there are minute-by-minute timelines, pictorial histories, and mountains of documentation that show what happened when. But at the time, no one knew what might come next, and the news just kept getting worse. First it was 1 plane, then 2 planes, then a plane crashed into the Pentagon. Then there was a missing plane and the towers came down. People were running in panic from the Capitol building. There were reports of a bomb at the State Department, and there were Secret Service agents with assault weapons at the White House. Everyone knew people who worked in these places. These were our friends, our families, our neighbors. The roads were packed with people trying to escape the city, and the phone lines were jammed. I found out much later that the reason my mom left me at school was because everyone was afraid the second plane would come down in our neighborhood. The news reported that the military was going to take down that plane, no matter where it was. There were 2 F-16 fighter jets scrambled out of Andrews Air Force, which was just outside D.C. They were going to ram that plane in a suicide mission. We used to live underneath the flight path into D.C., and we were used to seeing planes fly over, but we were not used to thinking of those planes as weapons. My school was a bomb shelter, and my mom thought I would be safer there. My dad was still at work, and she thought if the plane hit our house and she and my brother and my sister were killed, I might still be alive, and my dad would have some of his family, because she didn't think he could survive if we were all gone. But 6 months after September 11th, I was here in Salem, enrolling for my first day at Candelaria Elementary. I didn't know any of the facts I just mentioned until about 5 years ago. I was working on my grade school graduation project, and I started asking again why we had moved, because I still missed my old friends in my own school. My mom thought I was finally old enough to know about how 9/11 had affected our family. She'd saved the Washington Post from September 12th, and I couldn't believe what I'd read. Terrible stories, horrifying details. I read that some of the people in the Twin Towers faced the choice of jumping 90 stories out of windows to the ground or being burned alive. And I couldn't stop thinking about that. I couldn't stop thinking about the plane that went down in Pennsylvania. I thought about the choices those passengers had made. They chose to rise up against a terrorist and bring that plane down. Those choices just might have saved my life and the lives of my family. And I am so grateful for that. I am grateful to be alive. I'm also proud that my gratitude is owed to ordinary people who showed extraordinary courage. I'm proud that I might owe my life to people who chose to stand up so spectacularly. That made me realize that bravery doesn't have to come from traditional heroes. We may never come face to face with a terrorist, but there are things we can do. Terrorism is born of mindless hatred and ignorance. We can choose to hate, or we can choose to be tolerant. We can choose ignorance, or we can choose to understand. I think becoming a terrorist begins when people stop respecting each other, stop respecting that others might have a different opinion or might think differently about things. I'll never respect a terrorist, but I do respect there are others who have different ideas about how the world should work. If we can all do that, if we can all respect the differences of others, we will have taken a step toward eliminating fear and hatred, and that is something we can all be grateful for. Thank you.
Wow, what a story, huh? Thank you, Bailey. Appreciate it very much. All right.